Even the Emperor fears the valiant Duke's 3 chops. In my eyes, he is just a weakling who can be easily toyed with. So I was trying to give justice to the weak after all. I left behind an immortal good sentence. Then I went alone to the valiant Duke mansion. And when Wentong Wei, who heard my scolding, couldn't help but clenched his fists. He cried out that he was really a useless waste. Then he picked up a big knife and chased to the outside of the Imperial Prosecutor's office. Lord Yi, I, Wentong Wei, am willing to follow in your footsteps. Then a rough voice sounded right after. Count me in, old Nyo. Sansi Wu saw the determination of the two and exclaimed in surprise. Are you both crazy? The valiant Duke will undoubtedly die if you go there. Seeing that no one responded to him, the man sighed in frustration. At the same time, he hoisted the black box on his back. Let's go, old buddy. And thus, he would meet the infamous the valiant Duke. After hearing the names of the 3 of them, Xian Gaokai seemed lost in thought. He couldn't shake the feeling that their names sounded somewhat familiar. On the way to the valiant Duke mansion, the people cast curious glances in their direction. What on earth is going on? The entire Imperial Prosecutor's office has mobilized. It's been a long time since I've heard the name, the Imperial Prosecutor's office. Before long, our group arrived outside the valiant Duke mansion. Afterwards, I instructed Xian'er to stand a little further away. Xian'er immediately understood my meaning. Big brother is asking for trouble. At the same time, he secretly vowed in his heart that a loyal and virtuous person like Lord Yi, I will not let you die, even if I have to exchange my life for yours. Inside the study room, the Emperor, who was perusing the scrolls, also heard about this matter. She quickly accessed the spiritual implements to watch the live broadcast of the scene. Later, I led everyone to the outside of the gate. What surprised me was that even the door handle on the gate was made of gold. Xian Gaokai stepped forward and knocked on the gate. Immediately, a stern-looking steward asked, Who goes there? Before Xian Gaokai could even introduce himself, I pulled him directly behind me. Are you here to pay New Year's greetings? Stop being polite with him. Then I kicked the steward blocking the way. Damn it. I am a miscellaneous person from the Imperial Prosecutor's office. Get lost. This scene also made the people who came to watch the show give me a thumbs up. Who is this foolish greenhorn after all? The steward who was insulted threw down some harsh words, and then turned around to return to the mansion to call for someone. It didn't take long. One by one, the servants holding crossbows took charge of us. I just smiled faintly at this. Wentong Wei and the others were suddenly extremely excited. Lord Yi was amazing. They actually disregarded life and death. Sansi Wu gave extremely high praise. This person really seems to court death. At this moment, the steward of the valiant Duke mansion shouted, ordering everyone to hold on and asking who I am. I coldly chuckled and asked him, Are you the steward of the valiant Duke? I received his affirmative answer. I smiled and told him that I am the censor of the Imperial Prosecutor's office and that I have come for him today. You're in big trouble, come with us. The Grand Marshal seemed a bit flustered when he heard me say that. But soon he reacted and opened my palm. It was just an old, abandoned yamen. I chastised him sternly. You said the Imperial Prosecutor's office has been abolished. The Great Ancestor has decreed that as long as the Great Zhou exists, the Imperial Prosecutor's office will exist. Descendants cannot dismantle the Imperial Prosecutor's office, as it has never been abolished. And my words once again resonated with everyone present. But the steward didn't care about it. He continued to mock the Imperial Prosecutor's office, saying, What a joke of a place! If you kneel down now and call me Grandpa, I'll spare your life. I laughed and asked him, Are you trying to resist arrest? However, the steward didn't have the patience to continue the game with me. He immediately ordered everyone to shoot me into a hornet's nest. But just as the leader of the gang was about to charge at me, he was stopped by Xian Gaokai behind him. At the same time, Xian Gaokai revealed my true identity. He is Ningyi, who writes poems and verses that stabilize the nation. Upon hearing my name, the onlookers outside the door joined the battlefield one after another. It turned out to be Lord Yi. If you want to lay a hand on Lord Yi, you have to get past me first. However, the servants of the valiant Duke Mansion did not stop because of this. They shot crossbow arrows at the people present. The people also retreated because of the valiant Duke Mansion's dominance. Just then, a cold voice suddenly sounded. "Take one more step forward." No mercy in killing. I cursed the valiant Duke, who possesses overwhelming power, as a fool. But he smiled and acknowledged that what I said made sense. When the people saw the valiant Duke slowly approaching, one by one, fear arose in their hearts. Seeing this, I pushed through the crowd and made my way to the front. "I appreciate your kindness. I came here today for law enforcement purposes. This is official business. Please go back, everyone. Study well. The future belongs to you." Despite hearing my words, the crowd did not leave. Tears welled up in their eyes one by one. "We cannot watch you, Lord, go to your death." I smiled and told them, "Some people die but live forever. Some people are alive but already dead." And what surprised me was that my words resonated with the great Tao. Wen Tongwei also had a sudden enlightenment after hearing my words, whispering softly, "I understand." The emperor watching the live broadcast in the palace, however, was staring fixedly at my figure. The emperor quietly said in his heart, "But what I need is you, Ningyi, alive." The valiant duke also felt somewhat surprised that somebody was willing to step forward. It takes a real man to take responsibility for his own actions. Lord Yi is indeed quite a character. I looked into the valiant duke's gentle eyes. Suddenly, a bad premonition rose in my heart. The duke seems to have no intention of killing me. The valiant duke smiled and told me, "Indeed, I have no intention of killing Lord Yi." The people behind me all sighed in relief, saying, "This is great." But I wore a look of anguish. At the same time, he once again foolishly pointed at the valiant duke and elegantly spoke, calling him a domineering idiot. But the valiant duke showed no sign of anger. Instead, he burst into laughter. He had no intention of arguing back at all. He generously admitted that Lord Yi was right. "But I don't want to kill you. Do you want to know why Lord Yi wants to know?" I nodded to indicate him to continue quickly. After he finished speaking, "Is it still not enough for me to change?" Then the valiant duke began to tell a story. He was just a common noble in the past. But one day, his wife gave birth to a lovely daughter for him. But when the daughter was 5 years old, she was taken in as a disciple by the immortal sect due to her exceptional talent. And on that same evening, he received 13 priceless treasures, including a luminous pearl from the East Sea Dragon Palace. The sudden fortune did not shake him, and he returned it all without hesitation. However, not long after, he received even more treasures than before. In other words, from that day on, he understood a truth: as long as he clings to the immortal sect's thigh, he can become someone extraordinary. And even if he doesn't want it, others will still come and deliver it under his name. Upon hearing him say that, I directly rebuked him, saying that it was all nonsense. Flies don't perch on an egg that has no cracks. Your essence is simply greedy. Don't blame the world for it. Upon hearing me say this, the valiant duke pondered for a moment. He then continued to praise me as a true hero and boasted that only I could make him admire someone in this world. And then he reminded me to be careful in the future. Lord Ye's name has already been put on the kill list of the Feathered Transformation sect. If they want to kill you, it won't be my turn. Then, he pointed to the steward hiding behind him. San Li himself said, "What crazy thing have you done to provoke Lord Yi to mobilize troops to capture you?" The steward looked puzzled and indicated that he didn't know either. After all, he had done too many bad things and couldn't remember them all. Xian Gaokai then brought the old man up and asked, "Seeing him, do you still not remember?" I refused the emperor's protection. I also asked with great interest whether the valiant duke dared to kill me or not. The butler looked confused the moment he saw the old man, and with a puzzled expression, he asked who this person was. Xian Gaokai angrily rebuked him for daring to lie at this time. The steward immediately knelt in front of the valiant duke, begging for mercy repeatedly. The old man suddenly pointed at the steward and shouted loudly, "It was you who stole a cart of charcoal from me that day!" The steward's heart flashed with a hint of killing intent upon hearing the reason. But he still put on a look of pity on his face. Is the inquiry because of this? To come to our the valiant duke to cause trouble. The emperor before the live broadcast also looked confused. He never expected that his loyal minister would actually be for the sake of a mere cart of charcoal. The people behind also expressed their astonishment. They only feel that for such a reason, it is indeed making a mountain out of a molehill. The valiant duke also felt insulted at this time. He asked me to give him an explanation. I sternly reprimanded the people present. In your eyes, am I just a pile of insignificant charcoal? Then I approached the old man and said, in the southern hills, the charcoal seller fells the wood, his face, a mask of dust and smoke's embrace. His hair, now graying with the years of toil. His hands, blackened by the endless task. With what does he spend the meager coin from his trade? For simple clothes and humble meals he strives. Alas, his clothes are thin, his heart heavy with care. Wishing for the cold to drive the price of charcoal higher. A foot of snow falls upon the city at night. By dawn, his cart creaks through frozen tracks. The ox is weary, and hunger gnaws at him. Yet he rests by the south gate, where mud clings to the wheel. When they hear me reciting poetry, the people around me lower their heads one after another, reflecting on their own words just spoken. But the valiant duke looks disdainful. What does the difficult life of the lower ants have to do with me, the valiant duke? However, I did not respond to his meaning. Continuing to recite. Two riders approach, swift and graceful as they glide. It is the valiant duke from his noble house, adorned in white. With scroll in hand, they utter royal commands, and turn the cart around, urging the ox toward the northern road. A cart laden with charcoal, over 1,000 pounds, yet the imperial envoy spares no hesitation, rushing forth. When I mentioned this, I stopped, and looked angrily at the steward kneeling on the ground. This poem still has one last line. Half a yard of red gauze, tied straight towards the ox's head to load the charcoal. However, this guy didn't even give half a yard of red gauze. But the steward kneeling on the ground suddenly found that he couldn't stand up. At the same time, he looked at me fearfully. How could this person's momentum be more terrifying than an immortal cultivator? The people behind me also praised my knowledge one after another. In just a few sentences of poetry, I managed to understand the hardships of the poor people. Just at that moment, the valiant duke angrily pointed at me and cursed. You have a malicious heart. You have ruined my reputation for the sake of a mere commoner. I turned around and looked at this person, who was talking nonsense. I coldly retorted, asking him who the commoner was. There are no so-called commoners as you speak of. You high and mighty aristocrats also will be like rootless driftweed. Water can both carry boats and overturn them. Those who look down on the common people will one day pay the price. The valiant duke interrupted my words directly. Today he was going to let you go. But you did not know how to appreciate the gesture. Let me take your life on behalf of the Feather Transformation sect. And then I will follow the orders of the valiant duke. A rain of arrows shot towards me from all directions. But when those arrows were about to touch me, they were stopped by an unnamed force. I felt a bit disheartened to realize that I was still alive. I knew this lofty righteousness would be trouble. However, this grandson must have some killer's instinct. After realizing this, I picked myself up once again. Even the famous The Valiant Duke is nothing special. Indeed, garbage is just garbage. Just when the Valiant Duke is ready to continue shouting for someone, eunuchs hurried over with the imperial decree. His Majesty has decreed that this matter has come to an end. All losses incurred by the Valiant Duke will be borne by the palace. The emperor, who was far away in the palace, also breathed a sigh of relief. Finally caught up. The valiant Duke waved his hand, ignoring the imperial decree. I disagree. At the same time, he stepped forward and started scolding me, pointing at my nose. This person uses the excuse of investigating a case, but actually, he intends to insult me intentionally. The valiant Duke mentioned I will not rest until this thief is killed. I did not back down at all after hearing his words. I also do not agree. I clearly have the Emperor's support behind me. I choose to ignore the imperial decree and confront the valiant Duke head-on. When he saw my arrogance, the eunuch hurriedly reminded me. His Majesty has already ordered to settle this matter. Why are you still so stubborn? I continued to say that it is not too late until we have captured the criminal and brought them back to the imperial prosecutor's office. Then I looked at what the first article of the Great Zhou legal code established by Xian Gaokai's great ancestor was. Upon hearing this, Xian Gaokai shouted loudly, "The imperial prosecutor's office holds the primary enforcement authority. No one shall obstruct the imperial prosecutor's office during law enforcement." Then I looked at the eunuch. Did you hear that? Unless His Majesty issues another imperial decree, completely overturning all the rules set by the great ancestor, I will go back with you. Later, I stood alone at the very front. Some of you may think I am making a big deal out of it. But does anyone still remember the original intention of the great ancestor establishing the imperial prosecutor's office? The way to govern a country lies in fairness and justice. Judgments should not be based on the status of individuals, but on the severity of the crimes committed. Enforcement should not differentiate based on status. When laws are upheld, the country is governed. When laws are ignored, the country falls into chaos. My words also moved the people inside the arena to retreat. The people raised their arms, cheered, and shouted my name one by one. I could feel the strength coming from around me. I continued to speak. Perhaps the light of one person may seem dim, but the light gathered from thousands of people is enough to illuminate the entire Great Zhou. The little emperor far away in the imperial palace felt every word I said. It struck his soul. He really wanted to use his life to awaken the Great Zhou. Immediately he shouted sternly, mobilizing all the hidden pieces in the capital, at all costs, to save Ningyi. After receiving the decree from the little emperor, Qian Ershao walked out of the room in anger. He's such a selfish ghost. Does he think he's the only light? I'm going to wake him up now. Inside Lu Mansion, San Yuan Lu was causing a commotion, wanting to support me, but was subdued by the servants arranged by Zhen Lu. But he not only did not give up because of this, but instead became more determined. If I just stay at home and do nothing, I will regret it for the rest of my life. Zhen Lu sighed softly at the words. At the same time, he waved his hand to let the servant release him. Watching the figure of San Yuan Lu leaving, Zhen Lu's eyes flashed with a hint of golden light. Your father also wants to save him. But for the Great Zhou, I have more important things to do. On the other side, the valiant Duke looked disdainfully at the gathered common people. A group of ants. No matter how many people there are, what can they do? Behind me is Jade Pavilion, and no one dares to touch me under the sky. So be it. Today, I will let you all open your eyes. Then he clapped his hands coldly and said, Kill them for me! As soon as he finished speaking, four muscle-bound men with helmets surrounded me in a circle. The people behind me saw the situation and shouted loudly, Lord Yi, run quickly! You can't handle this! At the next moment, the Iron Man in front of me rushed forward first. Seeing the Iron Fist close at hand, a slight smile appeared on my lips. This time, let's see who can still protect me. Just when I thought I could finally make my wish come true, Jinsi Niu blocked the attack with a punch. The Imperial Prosecutor's office is handling the case. Who dares to obstruct it? Old Niu followed up with another punch towards Iron Man's face. Once I was a commander of 1,000 troops. It was with 5,000 Iron Riders that I broke through the Demon Savage golden tint. At that time, I thought that victory was the beginning of my life. I never thought it would turn out to be the end of my life. Thinking to this point, Jinsi Niu let out an angry shout. The past Jinsi Nyo is already dead. From today onwards, the only one alive is Judicial Commissioner Nyo of the Imperial Prosecutor's Office. I was full of astonishment when I saw the battle strength he displayed. This black chubby person actually came to backstab me without fighting fair. Later, I placed my hopes on the three big men behind me. Seeing their furious expressions, I felt a chance coming. Results from a familiar voice heard by my side. The Imperial Prosecutor's Office has more than one Judicial Commissioner Nyo, and me, Wentong Wei. A drunkard who drinks and enjoys himself all day long. He managed to defeat three giants, who were 2.5 meters tall using only one move. Turns out men are not useless after all. At the age of 15, he swept through warriors of the same age with extremely high talent. At the age of 18, he joined the court and became a detective. In just 4 short years, he solved countless long-standing and major cases. He also became the world-famous top detective. And then, in my shocked expression, he shielded me behind him. Then he drew his sword and charged towards the three burly men. He then used a skill to cut them in half at the waist with his sword. Duke saw his life-saving weapon being easily solved like this. The valiant Duke viciously uttered my name. You are despicable, pretending to be weak and destroying my magic weapon. Hearing this, I chuckled and sized him up. I advise you not to underestimate the enemy anymore. If you have any powerful tricks, you'd better show them now. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't have a chance later. Upon hearing this, the valiant Duke drew out a small knife from his bosom. He stabbed towards his own palm. Then, a dense black mist appeared behind the valiant Duke. I'm here to help. How can I assist you today? A beast 10 meters tall appeared out of nowhere in front of me. I felt a bit scared when I saw its fierce appearance. Such a fierce little dog. It can definitely kill me, right? Jinsi Nyo and Wentong Wei looked at me in panic. The valiant Duke, you actually keep a demonic beast. The valiant Duke's expression turned fierce upon seeing the situation. Let's see how you can still save yourselves this time. Then the demonic beast opened its huge mouth and lunged at me to bite. Xian'er gathered 2 strands of spiritual energy in his hand, feeling a bit nervous, but ultimately he had to make a move. At that moment, Sansi Wu appeared in front of me out of nowhere, and smashed the black leather box in his hand on the ground. Then the black box automatically opened with a click. A golden sword flew out automatically. Sansi Wu lightly chuckled as he touched his chin. Old buddy, come out for some fresh air. Looking at the sword flying out automatically, my face stiffened. You guys are really something. Each one is a hidden big shot. Even Xian'er behind me is surprised. It turns out to be a flying sword. Who on earth is this old man? The originally ferocious dog suddenly became calm. Then it ran in the opposite direction without looking back. Sansi Wu's mouth slightly curved upwards when he saw the situation. The next moment, a golden light soared down from the sky. Just heard a loud bang. The dog's figure disappeared without a trace. The valiant Duke was petrified on the spot. Then Sansi Wu curled his lips in a sneer and said sharply, Take action against the Imperial Prosecutor's Office without mercy. The people behind were stunned one by one. Is the Imperial Prosecutor's Office so powerful? With these people assisting Lord Yi, he will surely be able to show his prowess in the future. Outside the valiant Duke mansion, the sound of green bamboo was heard from the carriage. Lady, do you think Lord Yi is aware of this? Xian'er Shao pulled back the carriage curtain at the words. He obviously had no idea. Perhaps these people are the heaven's favor towards him. Later, the 3 of them knelt down in front of me. They addressed me as Lord, but I was full of anger and gritted my teeth. Give me an explanation, the 3 of you. I clearly seek death with all my heart, yet I always end up being betrayed miserably. Just because after I die, I can become the ruler of a part of the world. But there are always creeps around me interrupting my plans. Even they threaten that as long as they are around for one day, no one can harm me in the slightest. Right at this moment, Xian Gao Kai excitedly ran towards me. These three lord are not simple characters at all. Witong Wei is the #1 detective in Jiangnan. Jin Xinyo is a famous general in the military. Sansi Wu is brother 3 question. I pulled his collar. It seemed like there was some introduction just now. I was fooled directly. Xian Gao Kai looked embarrassed and said, "These are not important. Just need to know he is a formidable person." Then he proudly said in a loud voice, "Martial arts genius. Military general. I never expected our Imperial Prosecutor's Office to have such hidden talents. But my heart feels extremely desolate. The so-called group of losers has suddenly turned into the Avengers Alliance." Then I somewhat choked up and said to them, "Why did you save me?" Witong Wei, upon hearing this, excitedly bowed to me. "Lord Yi, there is no need to be moved. It is worth it for us to do so." After being exiled to the Imperial Prosecutor's Office, I felt hopeless in my career. The country seemed beyond salvation. I began drowning my sorrows in alcohol. I was like a walking corpse at that time. Until you came. You told me that the weak attack the weak, and the strong attack the strong. You awakened me. You made me rediscover the meaning of my existence. Then with a thud, I fell to my knees. Lord Yi, you are a grace of rebirth to me. Jin Xinyo beside me also knelt down at this moment. And your words have also awakened me. Upon hearing their words, I was so moved that I felt like crying without tears. It turns out that I have betrayed myself. I saw a harmonious scene of us getting along well. Xian Gao Kai asked Sansi Wu if she would like to express something as well. Sansi Wu gently touched her chin in response. I am just a small, insignificant person. I don't have many opinions. I only acted to prevent Lord from getting into trouble and ensure Lord's safety. Following that, Witong Wei and Sansi Wu both expressed their loyalty to me. From today onwards, Lord Yi, I will follow you without any hesitation. Together, we will rebuild the glory of the Imperial Prosecutor's Office. Upon hearing this, I waved my hand to indicate it was unnecessary. I do not need anyone to follow me. Xian Gao Kai stood up at this moment. He explained to them, I understand Lord Ye's intentions. He is a lonely traveler. He has always been trying to awaken others with his own power. After hearing this, the few people made a prompt decision. We understand Lord Ye's determination. We will become Lord's most steadfast blade and eradicate everything for Lord. Xian Gao Kai saw their awakened appearance and excitedly shouted, Did you see that? Brother Yi was already so happy that he couldn't speak. I couldn't help it when I heard this. Brother Kai, say a few words. Immediately, I pointed to the valiant Duke. There are still matters unresolved, right? The valiant Duke was furious upon hearing this. Look at what you have done to the valiant Duke mansion. Faced with his incompetence and rage, I made a gesture of disdain towards him. Don't just talk big. If you want to kill me, come over. The valiant Duke was just about to step forward and battle me. Just then, two fierce-looking brutes stopped him in his tracks. I could see the ferocity in their eyes. The valiant Duke couldn't help but take a step back. Life is full of ups and downs. Don't judge a book by its cover. You wait for me. Witong Wei spat and cursed when the two of them saw the situation, saying, Rats! Faced with their protection, I feel like I've eaten chicken shit. I really appreciate you guys. Our actions quickly became the talk of the town. Our Imperial Prosecutor's Office has returned. They have even suppressed the valiant Duke mansion. Our great Zhou finally has a place where the people can be in charge. Inside the Imperial Prosecutor's Office, Witong Wei looked at the man in front of him and said to me, Lord, how should we deal with this kid? Upon hearing his question, I calmly replied to him, Handle it according to the law. Then Witong Wei moved his joints and walked towards the man. I haven't interrogated a suspect in years. You may need to endure a bit longer. When Witong Wei left, Sansi Wu came to my side and reminded me, Be careful after this incident. You have to be careful. But I didn't care at all. Even if he has the support of the Immortal Cultivation Sect, I'm not afraid. At the same time, I secretly thought in my heart, "Hurry up and find someone to kill me." Sansi touched his beard and replied to me, "I'm not talking about the immortal sect as rumored. The Valiant Duke has built a huge network of relationships over the years. One of the closely associated with him is Rainy Mist Tower." Upon hearing this, I was slightly startled. Rainy Mist Tower. There is a rumor in the martial arts world about such an organization. They commit all kinds of evil deeds such as arson, murder, and looting. No one has ever known the true identity of their leader. But as long as you pay enough money, they even dare to assassinate immortals. Then Sansi Wu took out a talisman from his arms that Lord Yi had given him to prevent the assassin set by Rainy Mist Tower. "You must carry this talisman with you at all times." Upon hearing this, I directly refused. "I have the protection of lofty righteousness. I appreciate your kindness." But he did not give up. Instead, he pushed the talismans back. It's hard to guard against a hidden arrow in the presence of an obvious attack. After I accepted it, he nodded satisfactorily, stroked his beard, and turned to leave. There are many ways to harm others in this world. Though Lord meant no harm, he must not let his guard down against others. Seeing him about to leave, I hurriedly called out to stop him and asked the question that had been bothering me. "Who are you, actually?" Sansi Wu showed a mysterious expression at the words. "Just a nameless nobody." "Wait until he leaves." I looked up at the sky with some helplessness. It seems that I still know too little about this world. After returning to the room, I took out the ancient scroll and flipped through it. I learned that cultivators in this world can live casually for thousands of years. However, after the Great Zhou great ancestor founded the Great Zhou, he mysteriously disappeared. His fate is still unknown. And after his disappearance, the longest living among the 7 subsequent emperors lived for just over 150 years. While perusing the ancient scroll, I keenly detected a scent of conspiracy. The consecutive early deaths of emperors triggered the decline of the Great Zhou dynasty, leading to a rapid deterioration. At this moment, the censor stepped forward. He firmly believed that a powerful figure like the great ancestor would not easily vanish. Only by finding the great ancestor could the fortunes of the Great Zhou dynasty be revived. In order to stabilize the Great Zhou dynasty, he embarked on a journey to find the great ancestor alone. And once he set out, he never returned. Seeing this, I also understand everything now. No wonder the position of censor has always been vacant. It turns out that the Imperial Prosecutor's office is such a hidden dragon and crouching tiger. In the study room of the palace, the little emperor sighed repeatedly as he held one file after another. Why weren't these talents discovered earlier? Qian'er Shao blamed herself upon hearing this, saying, "This is all my negligence. If only I had investigated the Imperial Prosecutor's office earlier, these people wouldn't have been neglected for so long." The little emperor denied Qian'er Shao's words. "It's not your fault. As the ruler of a country, so many talents have been exiled, and I didn't notice a thing," he said. Qian'er Shao's thoughts shifted. Despite the surface appearance, from another perspective, Your Majesty sending Ning Yi to the Imperial Prosecutor's office turned out to be a good move. The little emperor's complexion improved slightly after hearing this. Let's hope it stays that way. Sansi Wu should be the true master who uses the flying sword. Why is there so little information about him? Qian'er Shao is equally puzzled. It is indeed very strange. This person seems to have emerged out of nowhere. No family, no past. Nothing can be found except the name. There are only 2 places in this world that the Covert Affairs Department cannot reach. One is the Immortal Sect, and the other is the palace. The little emperor became nervous after hearing this. It is necessary to find out his identity. Otherwise, it would be too dangerous to keep him by Ningya's side. On the other side, 2 golden lights suddenly burst out from the Imperial Prosecutor's office. Then Xian Gaokai walked in, with a look of surprise on his face. "Brother Yi, great news. Lord Wei and Lord Niu have made a breakthrough. Wentong Wei has been waiting outside the courtyard for a long time. Thanks to Lord's encouragement, I have figured out many things. I have already crossed the threshold of a first-rank martial artist in one go, and officially advanced to become a martial arts master. Upon hearing his words about advancement, I instinctively stepped back. I should keep my distance from him in the future to avoid being betrayed. But as soon as I took a step back, I bumped into Jinsei Nio's arms. Then he burst into a hearty laugh. Lord, I've also made a breakthrough. Our family Nio has always relied on battles to develop the power of our family bloodline. But in our generation, the purity of the bloodline is only 1/10 of what it used to be. It's okay as long as you work hard. In my heart, I secretly thought that this guy's threat is not that big. Then old Nio grabbed my shoulder and excitedly said, "It's because of you, Lord, that has aroused my spirit of victory and awakened the truly pure bloodline hidden within me." Upon hearing this, I quickly stepped aside. Congratulations to all of you. I then ran into the study. I slammed the door shut. What's going on here? How did it escalate to this point? Just then, Xian Gaokai's voice came from outside the door. Since everyone has become stronger, Brother Ye's safety is also guaranteed. Wentong Wei was the first to respond after hearing this. The valiant Duke is cunning and deceitful. He will definitely come back to harm Brother Ye. From today onwards, I will not leave Lord's side for even an inch. Old Nio and Sansi were equally eager to give it a try. If he dares to come, then let's give it a try. For 10 years, playing minor roles without anyone asking, but with a sudden pay raise, everyone knows. In order to give the assassin more room to play, I swaggered through the market square. I even turned back every 3 steps, observing if there were any suspicious individuals around. This also made Xian'er think that I was trying to prevent being followed. And she secretly vowed in her heart to protect me well. But what I am guarded against is not assassins at all. It's the 3 hidden big shots who swore to protect me well. So, I came to the Drunken Immortal Inn, where it's easiest for assassins to succeed. And I secretly felt anxious for those assassins in my heart. Come quickly, I am here. But when I entered the door, the scene unexpectedly fell into silence. Then a burst of cheers erupted from the crowd. Lord Yi is here. Shortly afterward, that group of ambitious individuals took me as the center and made various excessive demands. Some wanted hugs, and some even wanted kisses. Their enthusiasm also surprised me a little. Everyone, please don't be in a hurry. Leave some space for those who need it more. However, these words had the opposite effect. People once again surrounded me at the center. I am indeed the one who needs it more. Their enthusiasm also caught me off guard. Squeezed into this bird shape. Even if there are assassins, they shouldn't try to get close. It seems they still have to rely on me. The valiant Duke, brother. Just then, a figure suddenly rushed out from the crowd. Lord Yi, may I ask if you are prepared to fight the valiant Duke to the end? Upon hearing this, I snatched away his scroll. At the same time, I stepped on the table. I don't want to fight him to the end. It's the Imperial Prosecutor's Office that wants to fight against the evil forces to the end. The valiant Duke, be prepared. This is just the beginning. At the words, another round of cheers erupted from the crowd. The news quickly reached the ears of the valiant Duke. Angry, he smashed his most beloved Celadon piece into pieces. Ningyi, I will never share the same sky with you. And then the valiant Duke ferociously shouted, Mr. Shen! An old man asked upon hearing the voice, What commands does the valiant Duke have? The valiant Duke stared at him intently and told him, I need you to go and find that person. Tell him I want the head of Ningyi. I want it tonight at all costs. Soon, the man, at the valiant Duke's gesture, arrived at a wooden house. The valiant Duke Mansion requests an audience with Mr. Mu. A roar echoed from inside the house. San Bianshan broke out in a cold sweat after hearing that. But he still gritted his teeth and walked in. In the darkness, the figure sneered coldly. Who should I kill this time? Imperial Censor and Prosecutor Ningyi. Upon hearing this name, the man showed a fierce expression. He was a well-loved official of the people. If you want to kill him, you have to pay extra. After returning to the mansion, he started looking around everywhere inside the mansion. This also left the butler speechless, and he asked what I was looking for. I replied to him that it's nothing. I just wanted to confirm if those people had come along. Then I sent Lao Huang away and instructed him not to come out no matter what noises he heard. After that, I repeated what I said to Lao Huang to Xian'er, giving her some instructions.